Have you ever used something and it just works? It feels intuitive, almost like an extension of your own hand. And then other times you're fighting with a device that feels like it was designed to make you angry. Well, there's a reason for that. There's a whole science hidden behind the scenes, shaping everything around us. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain.
Oh, we've all been there, right? You're trying to use a new app and you can't find the one button you need. Or the dashboard in a rental car just makes zero sense. It's so frustrating. But here's the thing, it's probably not your fault. It's a design problem. And believe it or not, there's an entire field of science dedicated to fixing exactly that.
And here it is. It's called Human Factors and Ergonomics, or HFE for short. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It's the science of understanding people, our strengths, our weaknesses, how our brains work, and then designing the world to fit us instead of forcing us to fit into it. So what does that actually look like in the real world? Okay, so HFE is this massive, sprawling field. So instead of giving you some dry textbook definition, I think the best way to get it is to just dive into some really fascinating examples where getting the design right is absolutely critical.
The real key word here is interactions. This isn't just about making a chair comfortable or a handle easy to grip. It's about the entire system. How do we interact with our tools, our software, our environment? Getting those interactions right makes things efficient and it makes them safer. And in some places, that can be the difference between life and death.
So let's start in some of the most high-stakes environments you can possibly imagine, where one tiny design flaw can lead to absolute disaster.
Okay, picture a modern operating room. You've got intense focus, immense pressure, and a ton of super advanced technology all packed into one small space. It's basically a perfect laboratory for putting human factors science to the test. What's so amazing here is how HFE looks at the whole picture. I mean, think about it. You can add AI to help a surgeon, but if it's distracting or confusing, it's actually making things worse. You need to design apps that show critical data at the exact moment it's needed. And get this, studies show distractions happen in the OR about every 3 minutes. So you have to design to minimize those. It's even about the physical tools, like making robotic surgery less painful for the doctors themselves. It's the whole shebang. All right, so let's go from that super sterile, controlled operating room to the unpredictable chaos of the street, where first responders and police officers have to make split-second decisions under unbelievable stress. So here's the crucial insight. Design has to meet reality. You can have a policy that says officers must wear seatbelts, but what researchers found is that the culture of the precinct and the tactical needs of the moment are way more powerful. Same thing in hospitals during the pandemic. The standard issue PPE was so clunky and uncomfortable that it actually slowed people down. The solution wasn't a new rule. It was a totally redesigned face shield that was built for the people who actually had to wear it.
Okay, so these high-stakes examples are incredible. But what about the rest of us? How does this stuff affect the technology we use every single day? Well, you'd be surprised. Those same principles are at play every time you use your phone or your car.
Let's take self-driving cars. This is a massive challenge, and it's really all about trust between a human and a machine, right? So if the car suddenly brakes or changes lanes, how much does it need to tell you about why it's doing what it's doing?
And this is just a perfect example of the design tightrope. If the car gives you zero explanation, you're going to feel anxious and confused. If it only tells you what it's doing or only why, you still feel like you're missing part of the story. The best approach seems to be a combination, but then you risk overwhelming the person with too much information. It's this constant dance to build our trust in the technology.
And this same kind of thinking is everywhere in our digital lives. When a new app has a really smooth setup process that walks you through everything, that's called user onboarding, and that's HFE. Or when someone designs a telepresence robot for an older person, they find that simple things like high contrast colors and icons that don't change make all the difference. It's always about designing for the real person on the other end.
Because really, when you get right down to it, this whole science isn't about technology. It's about us. It's about deeply, truly understanding what makes people tick. This slide right here shows one of the biggest, most important ideas in this entire field: work as imagined versus work as done. We can sit in an office and imagine how a paramedic should follow a strict checklist. That's work as imagined. But the reality, the work as done, is that they're in a chaotic situation and they have to adapt and improvise based on what's happening right in front of them. Great design has to live in that messy reality. And we can even use data to see these human quirks. For example, one study analyzed how nurses talk and found that experienced nurses tend to be more analytical, while student nurses focus more on social connection. Now, that's a really important thing to know if you're trying to design a new communication tool or a training program for a hospital team.
And this brings us right back to that police seatbelt example. This quote, which kind of sums up what officers were saying, just hits the nail on the head. Policy alone is insufficient. You have to understand the culture, the stress, the tactical decisions. You can't just make a rule from on high. You have to design for their world, for their reality.
So let's pull it all together. What does this all mean for the future that we're all building? A future that's more and more intertwined with technology.
So what are the big takeaways here? Well, first, good design isn't just about making things pretty. In fields like medicine, it's about saving lives. Second, the same ideas that help a surgeon stay focused can also make your favorite app way less annoying to use. And maybe the most important lesson of all is this: you have to design for people as they actually are, with all our quirks and habits, not for some idealized version of how you wish they would be.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. The next time a piece of technology is driving you absolutely crazy, just take a breath. Don't blame yourself. Instead, ask a much better question. Who is this actually designed for? And maybe more importantly, who did they forget?